Before you hear anything else, settle your heart and slow your mind for just a moment. This message is not rushed and it is not noise. It is a call to awareness, reflection, and intentional faith. What you are about to hear is not superstition, not magic, and not a guarantee of outcomes. It is a symbolic, faith-based act of prayer and reflection that has helped many believers realign their focus, their intentions, and their spiritual posture as seasons change. This message is shared here on Joshua Selman Wisdom to help you think, pray, and act with clarity. As the next year approaches, many people move into a new year unconsciously. They carry the same thoughts, the same fears, the same unresolved burdens, and the same spiritual confusion into a different calendar, hoping that time alone will change what intention never addressed. But time does not heal what awareness avoids. Seasons change, but patterns repeat when reflection is absent. That is why moments like this matter, not because of salt, not because of water, but because of what happens inside a person when they choose to pause, reflect, and pray with intention. Salt has always been a symbol. Across scripture, across cultures, salt represents preservation, purity, and covenant. Water represents cleansing, renewal, and life. When these symbols are used in prayer, they are not tools of power on their own. They are reminders. They help the human heart focus. They help the mind slow down. They create a physical moment that anchors a spiritual intention. And intention matters more than people realize. As 2026 approaches, many are sensing a shift. Not fear, but awareness. Not panic, but reflection. A quiet question rising inside. Am I entering the next season intentionally, or am I drifting? This is where symbolic acts of prayer become powerful. Not because they force outcomes, but because they force honesty. When you write your name and place it in salt water, you are not activating a spell. You are standing before God with your identity, acknowledging that your life needs alignment, clarity, and surrender. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we often remind believers that spiritual growth is not loud. It is intentional. It is consistent. It is rooted in understanding. God responds to faith expressed through humility, not performance. The act itself does not move God. The heart behind it does. And when a person takes even a small moment to reflect, pray, and commit their path intentionally, something begins to shift internally. Perspective sharpens. Priorities realign. The noise quiets. Many testimonies you hear are not about instant miracles. They are about gradual clarity. People say they felt lighter, more focused, more prayerful, more aware of their decisions, more conscious of what they allowed into their lives. That is the real power of reflection. Not dramatic events, but quiet transformation. The kind that doesn't shout, but endures. Before 2026 arrives, life will not suddenly become easier because of a ritual. But you can become stronger because of awareness. You can become wiser because of reflection. You can become calmer because you chose to pause instead of rushing blindly into another year. That is why this message exists. Not to promise you something unrealistic, but to invite you into intentional faith. As you listen, don't rush, don't multitask. Let this moment be personal. Let it be between you and God. Symbols only help when they point beyond themselves. And this one points to surrender, intention, and renewed focus. Many people regret what they never paused to reflect on. Few regret moments of sincere prayer. On this channel, Joshua Selman Wisdom, we are not interested in emotional hype without depth. We are interested in wisdom that anchors faith in understanding. This message is part of that mission, to help you slow down, realign, and step forward with intention rather than fear. The coming year does not need a different version of your past self. It needs a refined one, a conscious one, a praying one, a discerning one. And sometimes all it takes to begin that refinement is a simple moment of reflection that reminds you who you are and where you are going. This is not about salt water. This is about you choosing to enter the next season awake, prayerful, and intentional. And that choice, made sincerely, is something very few people ever regret. Take a deep breath and stay with this moment. Faith grows in stillness, not in haste. As this message continues, allow your heart to remain open, not because something dramatic must happen, but because awareness itself is a gift. Many people underestimate the power of conscious moments. They think transformation only comes through loud breakthroughs, but often the deepest changes begin quietly when a person chooses to listen rather than rush. As a year approaches its end, reflection becomes unavoidable for those who are attentive. Questions begin to surface naturally. What did I learn? What drained me? What strengthened me? Where did I ignore wisdom? Where did I grow? These questions are not meant to condemn you. They are meant to guide you. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we emphasize that reflection is not punishment for failure. It is preparation for alignment. God does not require perfection, but He honors sincerity. When you write your name, you are not just writing letters. You are acknowledging identity. Your name represents your story, your choices, your struggles, your prayers, and your hopes. Placing that name in salt water during prayer is a symbolic way of saying, I am bringing my whole self before God, not hiding, not pretending, not rushing. Symbols help us externalize internal intentions, especially when words feel insufficient. Many believers struggle not because they lack faith, but because they lack intentional pauses. Life moves fast. Information floods constantly. Opinions compete for attention. Without intentional moments of reflection, the soul becomes crowded. Prayer becomes rushed. Discernment becomes dull. That is why symbolic acts, when done with understanding, can be helpful. They create space. They slow the mind. They remind the heart of what truly matters. As 2026 draws nearer, there is nothing mystical about the date itself. Time is a human measurement, but seasons affect perception. New Year invite evaluation. They highlight unfinished prayers and unrealized goals. They also reveal growth that went unnoticed. When approached with wisdom, these moments can become altars of reflection rather than sources of anxiety. Some people fear the future because they have not made peace with the past. Others rush into the future without learning from what they've lived through. Wisdom sits between those extremes. It acknowledges the past without being imprisoned by it, and it prepares for the future without trying to control it. This balance is cultivated through reflection and prayer, not through pressure. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we often say that spiritual maturity is measured by responsiveness, not noise. A mature believer listens carefully, prays intentionally, and acts thoughtfully. This message aligns with that principle. It invites you to respond rather than react, to choose intention over impulse, to enter the next season consciously rather than accidentally. You may wonder why such a simple act resonates with so many people. The answer is not in the act itself, but in what it represents. It represents choice. Choice to pause, choice to pray, choice to acknowledge dependence on God rather than self-sufficient. Sigh. In a world that celebrates constant motion, choosing to stop and reflect is itself countercultural. When people say they never regretted moments like this, they are not claiming instant outcomes. They are expressing gratitude for clarity gained, for peace restored, for focus renewed. Many report that after intentional prayer, they became more sensitive to their decisions. They avoided paths that would have drained them. They recognized opportunities they might have ignored. These shifts are subtle but significant. Faith is not about forcing outcomes. It is about aligning the heart. When alignment occurs, actions follow naturally. Decisions improve. Discernment sharpens. Peace increases. That is the quiet fruit of intentional prayer. And that fruit often lasts longer than emotional excitement. As you prepare for the coming year, remember that God is not waiting for a perfect ritual. He responds to honest hearts. Symbols are invitations, not requirements. They help some people focus, but they never replace relationship. Prayer is not powerful because of form, but because of sincerity. This is why we consistently remind our audience on Joshua Selman Wisdom to approach faith with understanding. Do not imitate without insight. Do not repeat actions without reflection. Ask yourself why you are doing what you are doing. When intention and understanding meet, faith becomes grounded rather than fragile. The next season will come whether you prepare or not. But preparation determines perception. Those who prepare meet new seasons with clarity. Those who don't often meet them with confusion. This message invites you into preparation, not pressure. Reflection, not fear. Surrender, not control. As you continue listening, allow this message to be personal, not something you forward quickly or consume passively. Let it sit with you. Let it challenge you gently. Let it remind you that you have agency in how you approach time, faith, and growth. The act itself is simple. The intention behind it is what gives it meaning. And when intention is rooted in humility and prayer, it often produces results that are quiet, steady, and enduring. These are the kinds of outcomes people rarely regret. Stay with this moment. There is more to unfold, not in drama, but in depth. The journey into the next season is not about rushing ahead. It is about walking forward with awareness, wisdom, and faith that is both sincere and grounded. Remain present. Let your thoughts slow down as this message continues. Transformation is not something that happens to distracted hearts. It unfolds where attention is given. Many people desire change, but few are willing to sit still long enough to understand themselves. This is why reflective moments are rare and why they are valuable. They invite you to look inward with honesty, not judgment. As you move closer to a new season, it becomes important to distinguish between spiritual intention and emotional impulse. Emotional impulse seeks quick relief. Spiritual intention seeks alignment. One is driven by urgency, the other by wisdom. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we emphasize that faith matures when believers learn to separate feeling from discernment. What you feel today may shift tomorrow, but what you understand shapes your path long term. The symbolic act you are reflecting on is not about controlling outcomes. It is about surrendering control. Many people struggle because they attempt to manipulate life rather than cooperate with divine guidance. True faith is not manipulation. It is trust expressed through obedience and reflection. When you pause to pray intentionally, you are saying, I am willing to listen, not just speak. Salt as a symbol reminds us of preservation. It slows decay but protects value in spiritual reflect. This symbolism can serve as a reminder to preserve what matters: integrity, peace, clarity, and alignment. Water, on the other hand, reminds us of cleansing. Not erasing history, but releasing what no longer serves growth. Together, these symbols point toward renewal, not replacement. You are not becoming someone else. You are refining who you already are. As 2026 approaches, many people feel pressure to reinvent themselves. They create resolutions without reflection. They promise change without understanding patterns. This often leads to frustration. Wisdom invites a different approach. Before deciding what to add, consider what to release. Before setting goals, examine motives. Before running forward, look inward. These steps require courage, but they prevent regret. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we often remind listeners that God values truth in the inward parts. External actions matter only when they reflect internal sincerity. This is why symbolic acts must always be accompanied by honest prayer. Without that, they become empty gestures. With it, they become moments of alignment. You may not notice immediate changes after such a moment of reflection. That is normal. Spiritual growth is rarely loud. It is often subtle, unfolding through awareness. You begin to notice your reactions. You catch yourself before repeating old patterns. You sense when something is misaligned. These are signs of growth, not coincidence. Many testimonies shared by believers focus on how their decision-making improved. They became more patient, more discerning, less reactive. These are not dramatic miracles, but they are powerful shifts. A calmer mind avoids mistakes. A discerning heart recognizes timing. A patient spirit waits for wisdom rather than rushing into regret. This message is not urging you to copy and act blindly. It is inviting you to engage intentionally. If you choose to form this symbolic prayer, do it thoughtfully. Do it quietly. Do it without spectators. Let it be a moment of sincerity, not performance. God meets people in sincerity, not in display. As you listen, ask yourself what you truly desire for the coming season. Not what sounds impressive, but what brings peace. Not what impresses others, but what aligns with your values. These answers matter more than any ritual. They shape your prayers. They guide your actions. The reason many people say they never regret moments like this is because reflection clarifies priorities. It helps you see what you are chasing unnecessarily. It reveals where you were investing energy without return. It invites you to choose differently. And choosing differently is often the beginning of a better season. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we believe that wisdom is the principal thing. It protects you from avoidable pain. It helps you recognize when to move and when to wait. It teaches you that not every opportunity is a blessing and not every delay is a setback. Reflection sharpens this wisdom. As the message unfolds, stay engaged. Let it speak to you personally. Faith grows where attention remains. The next season does not demand perfection. It invites intention. And intention, when rooted in prayer, has a way of shaping outcomes gently but consistently. Stay attentive. Moments like this are rare because they require stillness. And stillness is uncomfortable for minds trained on constant movement. Yet stillness is where discernment is refined. Many people spend their lives reacting, not reflecting. They respond to pressure, to fear, to expectation, but they rarely pause to ask whether their direction aligns with their values and faith. This message invites you into that pause, not as an escape, but as preparation. As time moves forward, it reveals patterns. Some patterns empower you, others quietly doctor you. Without reflection, patterns remain invisible. You repeat the same cycles, blame circumstances, and wonder why growth feels slow. Reflection brings patterns to the surface. It does not condemn you for having them, but it gives you the opportunity to choose differently. This is why reflective prayer matters more than emotional declarations. When you approach a symbolic act with understanding, it becomes a mirror. It reflects your posture, not your power. Writing your name and placing it in salt water during prayer is not about invoking change externally. It is about acknowledging responsibility internally. You are saying, I am willing to examine myself before asking for outcomes. That willingness alone is a sign of maturity. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we often teach that God partners with intention. Grace empowers, but wisdom directs. Without direction, empowerment becomes wasted energy. Many people pray passionately but live without clarity. Others live with ambition but pray without sincerity. Alignment happens when prayer and intention meet. As the coming year approaches, there will be voices urging you to hurry, to achieve more, to prove something, to catch up. But wisdom asks different questions. What truly matters? What drains you unnecessarily? What strengthens your peace? What aligns with your values? These questions do not have instant answers, but they reward patience. This message is not promising ease. It is inviting clarity. Clarity does not remove challenges, but it changes how you face them. When you know why you are doing something, endurance increases. When you understand your direction, distractions lose their power. Reflection strengthens resolve. Many people misunderstand faith as certainty about outcomes. In reality, faith is trust in guidance. It is the willingness to move forward without needing full control. Symbolic acts of prayer, when understood properly, reinforce this trust. They remind you that you are not alone and that your journey is not self-sustained. You may notice that after moments of sincere reflection, your prayers change. They become less demanding and more discerning. You ask fewer questions about when and more about how. You focus less on outcomes and more on alignment. This shift is subtle, but it is powerful. It transforms prayer from transaction into relationship. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we consistently emphasize that relationship precedes revelation. God does not reveal direction to distracted hearts. He reveals it to attentive ones. Attention is an act of honor. When you slow down to listen, you are honoring guidance over impulse. As you consider this symbolic prayer, remember that it is not a requirement, it is an invitation. If it helps you focus, engage with it sincerely. If it does not, still take time to reflect intentionally. The goal is not the act. The goal is awareness. Awareness leads to wiser choices. Wiser choices reduce regret. Regret often comes not from failure, but from ignoring insight. People sense warnings but dismiss them. They feel misalignment but override it. Reflection strengthens sensitivity to insight. It helps you recognize internal signals before external consequences appear. As seasons change, many people rush to set goals. Goals are useful, but direction is more important. A goal without direction becomes pressure. Direction without goals becomes peace. When direction is clear, goals form naturally. Reflection helps establish direction. This message exists to slow you down long enough to hear yourself think and to hear God speak. Noise competes for your attention constantly. Wisdom requires intentional silence. Even brief moments of silence, when done sincerely, can recalibrate perspective. You may not feel dramatically different immediately. That is not failure. Growth often feels ordinary. But over time, you may notice that you are less reactive, more discerning, more grounded. These changes compound quietly. They shape outcomes without drawing attention to themselves. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, our mission is not to excite you temporarily, but to equip you sustainably. Sustainable faith does not rely on emotional highs. It relies on understanding, consistency, and reflection. This message aligns with that mission. As you remain present, allow this moment to do its quiet work. You are not behind. You are not late. You are here. And being here, attentive and reflective, is already a step forward. Stay with this flow. Depth eye. Built gradually, not suddenly. Many people abandon reflective moments too early because nothing dramatic seems to be happening. But wisdom does not announce itself loudly. It settles in quietly, reshaping perception before changing circumstances. This is why patience is essential in moments like this. You are not here to be entertained. You are here to become aware. One of the greatest misunderstandings in faith is the belief that progress must always feel intense. In reality, the most meaningful shifts often feel calm. They show up as clarity rather than excitement. You begin to recognize what aligns with you and what does not. You start saying no without guilt. You pause before reacting. These are not small victories. They are signs of internal order. As you approach another year, there is a temptation to measure life by visible results alone. Numbers, achievements, recognition, but wisdom teaches a different metric. Peace, consistency, alignment. These are harder to quantify, but they sustain you longer. Reflection helps recalibrate your values so that you pursue what strengthens you rather than what drains you. When people engage in symbolic prayer with sincerity, they often report an increased awareness of their inner state. They notice when they are rushing unnecessarily. They become sensitive to environments that disrupt their peace. They begin to recognize patterns that no longer serve growth. This awareness is not accidental. It is the fruit of attention. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we emphasize that discernment grows through exposure and reflection. Exposure to truth without reflection leads to information overload. Reflection without truth leads to confusion. Balance is essential. This message offers both. It provides truth gently and invites reflection patiently. You may find yourself revisiting memories as you reflect. Moments of regret, moments of gratitude, moments of missed opportunity. Do not resist this. Reflection is not meant to trap you in the past, but to extract wisdom from it. Wisdom is the only thing worth carrying forward. Guilt does not help you grow. Insight does. As time moves forward, Unresolved patterns tend to repeat. Reflection interrupts repetition. It creates space between impulse and action. In that space, choice emerges. And choice is where responsibility begins. You are not responsible for everything that happened to you, but you are responsible for how you respond going forward. Symbolic acts of prayer can serve as anchors. They mark a moment of decision, a quiet declaration that says, I am choosing awareness, not awareness of everything, but awareness of yourself, your motives, your fears, your desires. This awareness does not weaken faith, it strengthens it. Many people confuse faith with denial. They avoid difficult truths, hoping optimism will solve everything. But faith is not denial. Faith is trust rooted in truth. Reflection brings truth to the surface gently, allowing trust to deepen rather than collapse under pressure. As you listen, you may notice your breathing slow. Your thoughts become less scattered. This is not coincidence. Stillness has a physiological effect. It calms the nervous system. A calm body supports a discerning mind. This is why moments of prayer and reflection feel grounding. They realign not only the spirit, but the whole person. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we believe that spiritual practices should lead to wholeness, not fragmentation. Anything that increases anxiety, pressure, or fear should be examined carefully. Faith should anchor you, not destabilize you. This message is designed to anchor, not overwhelm. As the next season approaches, remember that you do not need to have everything figured out. You need clarity about the next step, not the entire path. Refer. Sishan helps reveal the next step by quieting unnecessary noise. When noise reduces, guidance becomes clearer. You may be tempted to rush ahead after this message, to do something quickly, to act immediately. Resist that urge. Let understanding settle first. Action without understanding often leads to regret. Understanding without action leads to stagnation. Balance emerges when timing is respected. This journey is not about urgency, it is about intention. Intention transforms ordinary actions into meaningful ones. When intention is present, even small steps matter. When intention is absent, even large efforts feel empty. As you remain engaged, allow this message to continue shaping your perspective. You are not being asked to believe something blindly. You are being invited to consider carefully. Consideration is the foundation of wisdom. Keep your focus steady and allow these words to settle deeply. Many people move from year to year carrying unresolved thoughts and unnoticed patterns. They believe that change requires external events, but true transformation begins inside. It begins when awareness meets intention. This is why moments of reflection, though quiet, are powerful. They plant seeds that over time shape perspective, choices, and destiny. As you continue to reflect, consider how much of your life has been reactive. How often have you responded out of habit rather than conscious choice? How often have fear, pride, or distraction guided your steps without your awareness? Reflection interrupts this cycle. It allows you to step back and ask, am I moving with purpose or am I drifting? Moments like this, shared here on Joshua Selman Wisdom, are invitations to reclaim purpose. When you write your name and place it in salt water, remember that the act itself is a symbol. It does not compel change outside of your effort and intention. What it does is bring focus. It is a physical expression of your internal commitment. The mind and heart recognize the act, giving clarity to what otherwise remains abstract. Symbols work not because they are magical, but because they help the human spirit focus on what matters. Many believers report that even subtle acts of intentional reflection produce shifts in thinking. They notice decisions that previously felt automatic and begin to approach them with awareness. They recognize toxic patterns and start making choices that preserve their peace. They discover that they can influence the quality of their experiences, not through control, but through intentional alignment with their values and faith. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we teach that spiritual growth is rooted in consistent reflection. Quick fixes, dramatic gestures, or emotional hype may create temporary excitement, but they rarely produce lasting transformation. Enduring change arises when individuals pause, assess, and act with discernment. Symbolic acts, prayer, and reflection are tools that guide attention toward what matters most. As 2026 approaches, consider what you wish to carry forward. What aspects of your life need refinement? What thoughts, habits, or attitudes require attention? Reflection allows you to observe without judgment, to identify what is helpful and what is not, and to decide how to proceed intentionally. This is the essence of preparation for a new season. Faith is not about demanding outcomes. It is about aligning the heart. When alignment occurs, choices become clearer. Actions become purposeful, and discernment strengthens. The symbolic act of placing your name in salt water is not a guarantee of change, but it is a conscious declaration that you are ready to engage intentionally with your life and your faith. The declaration matters more than the ritual. Many people confuse busyness with productivity and noise with progress. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we emphasize the distinction. Reflection may feel unproductive in the moment, but it is the foundation upon which meaningful growth is built. Without it, efforts can become scattered, intentions diluted, and progress compromised. Reflection brings focus and strengthens resolve. As you continue this process, notice the difference between internal and external forces. External pressures often push for immediate results or visible signs of success. Internal reflection encourages patience, clarity, and discernment. True wisdom weighs both perspectives, honoring insight over impulse. The coming season can be navigated with greater confidence when internal alignment precedes external action. Subtle changes may begin to emerge as you maintain focus. Patterns of thought that were once unnoticed become apparent. You start recognizing when fear or distraction is influencing decisions. You develop the ability to pause before reacting. These small adjustments, though often invisible to others, accumulate into significant growth over time. The symbolic act you are engaging with is less about the act itself and more about cultivating a mindset of intentionality. Writing your name and placing it in salt water is a reminder that life is best lived with purpose, mindfulness, and faith. It calls your attention to the power of conscious choice in shaping your experiences. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we advocate for faith that is intentional rather than impulsive, deliberate rather than reactive. This message serves as a guide to help you step into a new season with awareness, clarity, and alignment. The external world will challenge you, but internal preparation will determine your ability to respond with wisdom. As you remain engaged, allow the silence and stillness to amplify understanding. Moments of reflection create depth that cannot be rushed. They are fertile ground for insight, discernment, and spiritual growth. The discipline of slowing down, of observing your own thoughts and actions, builds resilience and prepares you for what is ahead. Keep your attention focused. Growth begins in the quiet spaces where reflection is practiced, not in constant motion or distraction. Many people drift from one season to another, unaware of the subtle patterns shaping their lives. They chase outcomes without understanding themselves, and they expect external change to fix internal misalignment. Reflection interrupts this cycle. It brings awareness to the choices, habits, and thoughts that shape your reality. Writing your name and placing it in salt water is a symbolic way to mark intentionality. It is not a magic formula. It is a declaration of readiness, a recognition that your life is in your hands, and a commitment to approach the next season with awareness. When your heart is engaged, your mind aligns. When intention guides action, results reflect clarity, not mere chance. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we emphasize that the heart matters more than the act. Faith expressed without sincerity is empty, and symbolic acts without reflection are hollow gestures. But when action and awareness converge, even a simple gesture becomes a vessel for transformation. The physical act of placing your name in salt water reminds the heart to pause, to reflect, and to commit. As 2026 approaches, ask yourself, are you entering the new season with awareness, or are you repeating old patterns? Are you carrying unresolved fears, frustrations, and distractions into the future? Reflection is the bridge that allows you to release what hinders you and retain what strengthens you. It is the foundation of intentional living and the first step toward peace. Many people underestimate the power of small, consistent acts. Symbolic prayer is often overlooked because it seems minor or ceremonial. Yet, small intentional moments accumulate, shaping perception, decision-making, and spiritual sensitivity. Reflection trains the mind to discern between what is fleeting and what is eternal, between what is distraction and what is purpose. Faith is not about controlling circumstances. It is about aligning the heart with guidance. The saltwater ritual is a reminder that alignment matters more than control. By engaging consciously, you train yourself to prioritize clarity over chaos, understanding over impulse, and intention over reaction. These qualities, though subtle, have profound effects on the trajectory of your life. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we often remind listeners that spiritual maturity is measured by the quality of attention, not by the quantity of activity. Busy actions may feel productive, but they can be misaligned. Reflection, though quiet, cultivates discernment. It creates space between stimulus and response, allowing wisdom to inform your choices. As you continue this process, notice how your perception shifts. Decisions that once seemed automatic become opportunities for conscious choice. Repeated behaviors are illuminated, allowing you to choose differently. This awareness is not instant gratification. It is the steady compounding fruit of intentional reflection. The results may not be visible immediately, but their impact is enduring. Symbolic acts, like placing your name in salt water, serve as anchors for reflection. They remind you of your identity, your intentions, and your commitment to align with wisdom and faith. They're a tangible point of focus in a world filled with distraction and noise. When the heart is present, even simple acts have deep significance. Many people confuse excitement with transformation. Loud emotional experiences can feel powerful, but they rarely create sustainable growth. True transformation unfolds quietly through reflection, intentional prayer, and mindful action. The symbolic act you are engaging with facilitates this quiet growth by providing structure for your attention and intention. As the year turns, consider what you want to carry forward. Reflection is not about blame or regret. It is about clarity and preparation. By pausing to acknowledge your identity, your intentions, and your choices, you create a foundation for wise action. This foundation is what sustains growth beyond temporary motivation. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we teach that discernment arises from consistent reflection. It helps you recognize opportunities, avoid unnecessary pitfalls, and respond rather than react. Reflection cultivates patience, focus, and resilience. It strengthens your capacity to navigate the coming season with awareness and faith. As you listen, allow yourself to remain still and present. Let the act of reflection sink in fully. Let your heart acknowledge its role in shaping your experiences. Let your mind embrace clarity, understanding that transformation is a process, not a sudden event. This is the quiet power of intentional preparation. Stay focused and allow your heart to remain still. Many people mistake activity for progress. They rush from one task to another, hoping movement alone will bring change. Yet true transformation begins in deliberate pause. It is in these quiet moments of reflection that clarity emerges, perspective sharpens, and intention becomes aligned with purpose. The symbolic act of placing your name in salt water is not about external power. It is about internal alignment. As the year draws to a close, take a moment to observe your patterns. Which habits serve you and which drain you? Which thoughts strengthen your faith and which cloud your clarity? Reflection allows you to discern these patterns. Without it, life becomes a series of reactions, reacting to pressure, reacting to emotion, reacting to expectation. Reflection introduces choice. It is in this space of conscious decision-making that true freedom is found. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we emphasize that faith is measured not by how loudly it is expressed, but by how deliberately it is lived. Symbolic acts, when paired with intentional reflection, cultivate awareness. They help anchor the mind and guide the heart. Writing your name and placing it in salt water is a moment to declare, I'm willing to examine myself and approach the next season with clarity. Many believers discover that even small intentional acts of prayer create subtle but meaningful shifts. They notice when they are rushing, when fear influences decisions, or when distraction undermines focus. These realizations may seem minor, yet they accumulate over time, shaping patterns of thought, behavior, and spiritual sensitivity. Consistency and reflection leads to discernment, and discernment is invaluable as a new season approaches. Faith is not about controlling circumstances. It is about aligning the heart. When the heart aligns with wisdom and intention, choices become clearer, actions more effective, and perspective steadier. The salt water ritual is a tool to remind you of this alignment. It is not a guarantee, but a tangible invitation to focus, to reflect, and to commit. As 2026 approaches, resist the temptation to chase external outcomes. Many people enter new seasons seeking validation, recognition, or achievement without considering alignment. This often leads to frustration. Preparation through reflection ensures that the goals you pursue resonate with your values and spiritual integrity. Preparation is not about perfection, it is about intentionality. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we teach that discernment is cultivated by attentive observation. Reflection creates the space to notice patterns that would otherwise go unnoticed. It helps identify where energy is wasted, where attention is misdirected, and where clarity is absent. This awareness allows you to act consciously rather than react unconsciously. Small intentional moments matter. They are the foundation upon which long-term growth is built. A single act of reflection may seem insignificant, yet its influence compounds over time. When attention is focused and intention is present, even ordinary actions gain extraordinary significance. The symbolic act of salt water is a tool to harness this. Focus. Many confuse excitement with transformation. Loud emotional experiences may feel powerful, but they often dissipate quickly. True transformation is quieter. It emerges from deliberate reflection, prayer, and mindful engagement with life. This message is designed to guide you toward that transformation by cultivating intentionality and awareness. As you prepare for the coming year, consider what you want to carry forward. Reflection is not about dwelling on the past. It's about learning from it. It is about identifying what strengthens you and releasing what hinders growth. Intentional reflection provides clarity, enabling you to step into the next season with wisdom, confidence, and faith. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we highlight that patience and observation are central to spiritual growth. Reflection fosters patience, deepens insight, and strengthens the ability to respond thoughtfully. By engaging in intentional reflection, you prepare to navigate the next season with clarity and discernment rather than reacting impulsively. Allow yourself to remain fully present in this moment. Let your heart and mind embrace the stillness. Let reflection cultivate clarity. Understand that transformation is a process, not an instantaneous event. By committing to intentional moments of prayer and reflection, you plant seeds that will shape your future actions, thoughts, and spiritual sensitivity. Remain attentive and let these words sink in deeply. Many people underestimate the value of stillness because it feels unproductive. Yet, stillness is the soil in which wisdom takes root. Without it, even the most intense effort can yield little growth. Reflection creates a pause between stimulus and response, allowing discernment to guide your choices rather than impulse or emotion. This is why symbolic acts, like placing your name in salt water, matter, not for their literal effect, but for what they cultivate within you. Awareness, intentionality, and alignment. As 2026 approaches, the world will continue at its usual pace, pressing expectations and distractions upon you. Without conscious reflection, it is easy to be carried along by circumstances rather than to navigate them purposefully. Reflection interrupts this drift. It helps you examine your priorities, assess your motives, and understand where your energy is being invested. True preparation is not about speed, it is about clarity. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we consistently teach that faith is measured by attention and understanding rather than emotion or volume. Writing your name and placing it in salt water is a symbolic declaration that you are engaging with your life intentionally. The act reminds the heart that the future is shaped not by chance, but by choices rooted in awareness and discernment. It is a tool for focusing the mind and centering the spirit. Many believers report that even subtle acts of prayer and reflection trigger noticeable internal shifts. They become more sensitive to distractions, more aware of thought patterns, and more attuned to the impulses that influence their behavior. This heightened awareness allows for decisions that are guided by wisdom rather than reaction. The effects may not be immediately visible externally, but internally, significant alignment begins to take place. Faith is not about controlling outcomes. It is about aligning with truth and guidance. When your heart is aligned, your actions follow naturally. Your decisions become clearer, your discernment sharper, and your peace steadier. The saltwater ritual is not magical. It is a physical representation of your internal commitment to intentional faith and reflection. As the new year approaches, resist the temptation to measure success solely by external achievements. Many enter seasons, seeing recognition, milestones, or validation, only to find that satisfaction remains elusive. True growth comes from alignment, aligning your actions with your values, your intentions with your faith, and your decisions with discernment. Reflection provides the foundation for this alignment. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we highlight that discernment grows through repeated practice of reflection, observing your patterns, analyzing your choices, and understanding your motivations sharpen your ability to navigate life with wisdom. The symbolic act you are engaging in serves as a reminder to pause and focus. It creates a tangible anchor for your intentions, helping you step into the next season with clarity. Small intentional acts have disproportionate influence over time. They are like seeds planted quietly, whose roots deepen as seasons pass. Reflection and prayer may feel minor in the moment, yet their long-term impact is profound. They shape perception, influence decisions, and guide spiritual sensitivity. Symbolic practices help maintain this focus, keeping the heart and mind aligned. Many confuse emotional intensity with transformation. Dramatic experiences may feel powerful, but they rarely result in lasting change. True transformation unfolds quietly through intentional reflection, prayer, and mindful engagement with life. This message encourages that steady, quiet growth, fostering depth and clarity rather than transient excitement. As you prepare to enter the next season, consider what you will carry forward. Reflection is not about regret, it is about discernment. It allows you to identify what strengthens you and what hinders growth. Intentional reflection enables you to navigate life with purpose, wisdom, and faith, rather than drifting blindly through circumstance. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we emphasize that patience and attentiveness are key to spiritual maturity. Reflection cultivates patience, sharpens insight, and strengthens the capacity to respond wisely to challenges. By committing to moments of deliberate prayer and reflection, you create a foundation for sustainable growth and alignment in the seasons ahead. Remain present. Let the quiet deepen your understanding. Recognize that transformation is gradual, not instantaneous. By engaging intentionally, you cultivate discernment, focus, and alignment that will influence your decisions, actions, and spiritual sensitivity in ways that are enduring and meaningful. Stay with this moment and let your mind settle. Many people move through life without intentional pauses, reacting to circumstance rather than acting with awareness. True growth begins when reflection precedes action. It is in these quiet spaces that discernment develops, priorities become clear, and the heart aligns with purpose. The symbolic act of placing your name in salt water is not a magic solution. It is a tangible invitation to pause, reflect, and commit with intentionality. As 2026 approaches, life will continue its usual rhythm, bringing distractions, pressures, and expectations. Without deliberate reflection, it's easy to drift into patterns that no longer serve you. Reflection allows you to examine where your energy is going, to notice which habits are empowering and which are draining. It provides space to consider choices carefully, ensuring that your next steps are rooted in awareness rather than reaction. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we emphasize that faith is expressed through deliberate action aligned with understanding. Writing your name and placing it in salt water is a symbolic act, but the true power lies in the heart behind it. It signifies readiness to engage intentionally with life, to examine motives, and to align your actions with wisdom. The external act reinforces internal commitment. Anchoring your intention for the coming season. Many believers experience subtle but meaningful shifts after intentional acts of reflection. They become more attentive to distractions, more conscious of habitual responses, and more aware of their spiritual posture. These internal changes may not be visible to the outside world, but they significantly influence decision-making, emotional balance, and spiritual sensitivity. Awareness itself becomes a catalyst for transformation. Faith is not about controlling outcomes. It is about aligning the heart with divine guidance and wisdom. When alignment occurs, actions naturally follow, decisions become clearer, and peace deepens. The saltwater ritual serves as a physical representation of this alignment, reminding the heart and mind to approach life with intentionality, prayer, and focus. As the year turns, resist the temptation to chase external validation. Many people define progress by achievements, recognition, or milestones. True growth, however, is measured by internal alignment, clarity of purpose, and intentional living. Reflection allows you to distinguish between what genuinely strengthens you and what merely distracts. It creates a foundation for purposeful action in the coming season. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we teach that discernment is cultivated through consistent reflection, observing thought patterns, analyzing behaviors, and understanding motives strengthens the ability to respond wisely to challenges. Symbolic acts like placing your name in salt water create tangible anchors for reflection, keeping attention focused and intentions clear. Small, consistent acts of intentional reflection have profound cumulative effects. They shape perception, influence choices, and refine spiritual sensitivity. Though quiet and understated, these moments guide the trajectory of your life in meaningful ways. Symbols help focus you. Attention, providing a concrete reminder to prioritize alignment over distraction. Many confuse emotional highs with transformation. Loud, dramatic experiences may feel powerful but rarely lead to sustained growth. True transformation is gradual, rooted in reflection, prayer, and mindful engagement. This message encourages steady, intentional development rather than fleeting excitement, cultivating enduring change that aligns the heart, mind, and spirit. As you consider what you wish to carry forward into the next season, reflection becomes essential. It allows you to discern which habits, thoughts, and attitudes to release and which to retain. By engaging consciously, You step into the next season with clarity, faith, and purpose rather than uncertainty or reactive impulse. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we emphasize that patience and attentiveness are critical for spiritual maturity. Reflection deepens insight, strengthens resolve, and improves the ability to respond thoughtfully. By committing to intentional moments of prayer and reflection, you prepare yourself for the challenges and opportunities of the coming season with discernment and stability. Remain present. Let the stillness deepen your understanding. Recognize that transformation is a gradual process. Through consistent reflection, deliberate prayer, and intentional action, you cultivate clarity, alignment, and spiritual sensitivity that will guide your decisions and experiences in the year ahead. Stay fully present and allow this reflection to deepen. Many people move from year to year without conscious awareness, carrying unresolved patterns and unnoticed habits into new seasons. They hope external changes will produce internal transformation, but true change begins inside. It begins with intentional reflection, with examining motives, behaviors, and priorities. Symbolic acts, like placing your name in salt water, are tools that guide attention inward. They remind the heart to pause and align. As 2026 approaches, life will not slow down. Pressures, expectations, and distractions will continue relentlessly. Without deliberate reflection, it is easy to drift into automatic responses, repeating old patterns unconsciously. Reflection creates a pause, allowing clarity to emerge. It helps you evaluate which habits strengthen you, which drain you, and where your energy is being invested. Preparation through reflection is the difference between moving with purpose and drifting aimlessly. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we teach that faith is most powerful when expressed with understanding and intentionality. The symbolic act of writing your name and placing it in salt water is meaningful not because of the act itself, but because of the heart behind it. It signals readiness to engage intentionally, to examine motives, and to commit to a path of awareness and spiritual alignment. The physical act anchors internal intention. Many believers report subtle shifts after engaging in moments of intentional reflection. They notice distractions more clearly, become aware of thought patterns, and develop sensitivity to internal guidance. These shifts may not manifest externally at first, but they significantly influence decisions, emotional stability, and spiritual discernment. Awareness itself is transformative. Even without visible changes, faith is not about controlling outcomes. It is about aligning the heart with wisdom and guidance. When your heart is aligned, actions flow more naturally, decisions are clearer, and peace becomes deeper. The saltwater ritual functions as a tangible reminder of this alignment, helping your heart and mind to remain focused, intentional, and prayerful as you approach a new season. As the new year approaches, resist the temptation to chase external validation, recognition, or milestones as measures of success. True growth is measured by internal alignment, clarity of purpose, and intentional living. Reflection allows you to discern between what genuinely strengthens your faith and what is a distraction. It creates a foundation for purposeful action and wise decision making. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we stress that discernment is cultivated through consistent reflection. Observing patterns, analyzing decisions, and understanding motivations equips you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Symbolic acts like placing your name in salt water serve as anchors, keeping attention focused and intentions aligned. Small, consistent acts of reflection have cumulative power. Though quiet and often overlooked, they shape perspective, influence behavior, and strengthen spiritual sensitivity over time. Symbols help maintain focus, offering concrete reminders to prioritize alignment over impulse. These intentional moments cultivate clarity and purpose that endure beyond the moment. Many confuse dramatic experiences or emotional highs with transformation. True transformation is subtle, emerging through reflection, prayer, and conscious engagement with life. It is steady, intentional, and rooted in awareness. This process produces long-term growth and alignment of the heart, mind, and spirit. Unlike fleeting excitement, which quickly fades as you prepare to enter the next season, reflection allows you to discern that which to release and what to carry forward. Intentional reflection empowers you to step into the future with clarity, purpose, and faith. It reduces regret and strengthens the ability to navigate challenges with wisdom. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we emphasize that patience, attentiveness, and reflection are the pillars of spiritual growth. Consistent reflection cultivates discernment, strengthens resolve, and improves decision-making. These qualities prepare you to face the coming season with alignment, clarity, and faith. Remain present. Let the stillness of reflection deepen your understanding. Transformation is gradual, not instantaneous. By committing to intentional reflection, prayer, and mindful engagement, you cultivate clarity, alignment, and spiritual sensitivity that will guide your choices and actions in the coming year. Keep your focus steady and allow this message to penetrate deeply. Many people enter a new year without conscious preparation, carrying unexamined habits, unresolved emotions, and unnoticed thought patterns into the next season. They hope external circumstances will change their life, but true transformation begins internally. It begins with intentional reflection, understanding, and alignment. The symbolic act of placing your name in salt water is not about instant results. It is a physical representation of internal commitment, a declaration that you are ready to engage consciously with your life and faith. As 2026 approaches, distractions and pressures will not lessen. Without deliberate reflection, it is easy to drift automatically, repeating old patterns unconsciously. Reflection interrupts this cycle. It allows you to assess which habits are empowering, which drain your energy, and where your attention is being scattered. Preparing your mind, heart, and spirit through reflection is what determines how effectively you navigate the next season. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we emphasize that faith is most powerful when paired with understanding. Symbolic acts like writing your name and placing it in salt water are meaningful not because they hold mystical power, but because they engage the heart, mind, and spirit intentionally. They are tangible reminders that alignment matters more than mere activity. The true impact lies in the focus, awareness, and sincerity you bring to the act. Many believers notice subtle yet profound shifts after engaging in reflective practices. They become more conscious of distractions, more aware of recurring thought patterns, and more sensitive to guidance that previously went unnoticed. These internal changes influence decisions, behavior, and spiritual discernment, even when external results are not immediately visible. Awareness is self-eye, transformative, and often precedes visible breakthroughs. Faith is not about controlling outcomes. It is about aligning your heart with wisdom and guidance. When alignment occurs, clarity emerges. Decisions become more precise, actions flow more naturally, and peace settles in deeply. The saltwater ritual functions as a physical symbol, anchoring your commitment to approach life with intentionality, prayer, and focus. As the new year draws near, resist the temptation to measure success by external validation, recognition, or milestones. True growth is measured by internal clarity, alignment, and purpose. Reflection enables you to discern what strengthens your faith, what nurtures your growth, and what distracts or hinders progress. Intentional reflection lays the foundation for purposeful action in the season ahead. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we consistently teach that discernment is cultivated through consistent reflection, observing patterns, analyzing behaviors, and understanding motivations equips you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Symbolic acts like placing your name in salt water serve as anchors, focusing attention and aligning intention with action. Small, consistent acts of reflection may seem insignificant at first, yet their cumulative effect is profound. They shape perspective, influence decisions, and refine spiritual sensitivity over time. Symbols provide concrete points of focus, reinforcing intentional living and alignment with spiritual truth. Even simple acts, when combined with awareness, create deep and lasting transformation. Many people confuse emotional excitement or dramatic experiences with genuine transformation. True transformation is quiet, subtle, and unfolds over time through reflection, prayer, and conscious engagement. It is steady, intentional, and rooted in understanding. Unlike fleeting highs, this gradual process produces enduring growth and deep alignment between heart, mind, and spirit. As you prepare to enter the next season, reflection helps you determine what to release and what to carry forward. Intentional reflection empowers you to step into the future with purpose, clarity, and faith. It reduces regret, increases discernment, and strengthens your ability to navigate challenges with wisdom. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we emphasize that patience, attentiveness, and reflection are the pillars of spiritual growth. Consistent reflection cultivates discernment, strengthens resolve, and enhances decision-making. These qualities prepare you to face the coming season with confidence, clarity, and alignment. Remain present. Let the stillness of reflection deepen your understanding. Transformation is gradual and deliberate, not sudden or accidental. Through intentional reflection, prayer, and mindful engagement, you cultivate clarity, alignment, and spiritual sensitivity that will guide your choices and actions in the year ahead. Keep your attention steady and allow the depth of this message to reach every part of your being. Many people rush into new seasons without preparation, carrying unexamined habits, unresolved emotions, and unseen patterns with them. They expect external change to fix internal misalignment, but transformation always begins inside. It starts with deliberate reflection, intentional prayer, and alignment of heart, mind, and spirit. The symbolic act of placing your name in salt water is not magical. It is a tool for focus, a tangible expression of readiness and commitment to intentional living and faith. As 2026 approaches, distractions, expectations, and pressures will increase. Without conscious reflection, it is easy to drift into patterns that do not serve your growth. Reflection creates a pause, a moment of awareness to observe what strengthens you, which drains you, and where your energy is being invested. This pause allows clarity to emerge, ensuring that your choices and actions are rooted in wisdom, not impulse. On Joshua Selman Wisdom, we teach that faith is most effective when paired with understanding. Symbolic acts like writing your name and placing it in salt water are powerful not because of the physical act, but because they engage your heart, focus your mind, and reinforce your commitment. These acts serve as anchors for attention, helping you cultivate intentionality in a world filled with distraction and noise. Believers who practice intentional reflection often notice subtle yet meaningful shifts in awareness. They become more conscious of distractions, more sensitive to guidance, and more capable of observing recurring thought patterns. These internal shifts influence decision-making, emotional stability, and spiritual discernment, even if external results are not immediately visible. Awareness itself is a powerful agent of change.